right, let's jump right into this deep dive. Today, we're looking at a specific set of sources, basically the top 10 news for Korea for June 9th, 2025, and some background commentary that came with it.
Exactly. And our mission really is just to unpack this material. We want to pull out the key insights, figure out what was happening in Korea around this date based only on what these sources tell us.
Yeah, politics, economy, social stuff, whatever's in the sources.
It's about getting the essential knowledge quickly without getting bogged down in things outside this specific information packet.
Okay, so let's get started. First up, politics and the law. The top story seems to be about President Lee Jae-myung.
Right. His appeal hearing for that election law violation case. It was supposed to be June 18th, but the sources say it's been postponed indefinitely.
And the reason given is,
Yeah.
well, it's pretty significant. It cites the current president's immunity from prosecution principle. Article 84 of the Constitution, apparently.
Yeah, that's a major factor. And the commentary provided actually connects this directly to something else President Lee was doing around the same time.
Which was?
His call for a quick supplementary budget. The sources mention it's for economic recovery and tackling inflation.
Ah, okay. So the commentary sees a link between the legal situation potentially being paused and this push for economic action.
That seems to be the angle, yeah. It suggests, significant shifts happening in the political landscape, tying the legal aspects to the economic ones.
Interesting. So based on these sources, you've got the president facing this legal challenge, possibly shielded by immunity for now, while also driving major economic policy. It really shows how intertwined these things are, doesn't it? The legal process and the day-to-day running of the country and its economy.
Absolutely. A complex picture right from the start.
Okay, let's shift focus now to diplomacy, international relations. The sources mention some high-level calls.
Yeah, quite a bit of activity there. President Lee spoke with Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba. They apparently agreed on close cooperation, including on safety and, importantly, dealing with North Korea.
And then almost immediately another call.
Yes, with U.S. President Trump. The material says they promised, quote, rapid progress on tariff and trade issues.
Rapid progress. Okay. But how does the background commentary frame this? Does it just report it?
It actually interprets these calls. It suggests they show an acceleration in cooperation speed, specifically regarding North Korea and also those trade talks.
So things are moving fast on the diplomatic front, according to this view.
That's the interpretation offered, yes. It points to a quickening pace. But there's another related point in the sources about the trade talks specifically.
Oh, what then?
Well, despite the talk of rapid progress with the U.S., Korea also apparently requested an extension on the negotiation timeline for those same trade issues.
An extension, that seems... Well, it seems to run counter to rapid progress, doesn't it? Why the request?
The source material cites the need for economic recovery back home and protecting Korea's export industries as the reasons.
I see. So it highlights the tension, perhaps, between the desire for quick agreements on the international stage and the practical domestic economic pressures and strategies.
Precisely. It shows how global trade dynamics aren't just abstract discussions. They directly impact national economic planning and negotiation tactics, sometimes needing more time as part of the strategy, even when the overall goal is progress.
Right. Okay, let's loop back to the economy then and bring in energy strategy. We already touched on the president's call for that supplementary budget.
Yeah, motivated by economic recovery and keeping inflation in check, as the sources state.
And there's another piece mentioned, Korea's plan to get involved in the Alaska LNG project, liquefied natural gas.
The sources note that a delegation, including the vice energy minister, was attending a conference about it in early June.
So how does the commentary piece these together? The domestic budget push and this international energy venture?
It views them as connected, sort of structural responses, actions aimed at tackling both the external pressures, like trade issues, and the economic slump happening domestically.
So proactive steps then. According to these sources, Korea is trying to strengthen the economy from within and secure energy for the future.
That's the picture painted by the material, yes. Addressing immediate needs while also looking at longer-term resource security.
Okay, shifting now to social issues. Public life. The sources give us a couple of snapshots here. One seems pretty long-running.
Yeah, the healthcare crisis. It's mentioned as stretching from 2024 into 2025.
And the cause, according to the source cited, which is Wikipedia, interestingly, is the government's policy to increase medical school quotas.
That's what the material attributes it to, yes, leading to widespread doctor strikes. And the impact noted is significant. Gaps in medical services, delays for emergency patients, really serious stuff affecting people's basic access to care.
A major ongoing issue then.
Right.
But there's also a much shorter event mentioned.
Right, the Ulsan Bus Union general strike happened very close to our date, started June 7th, but it was over quickly.
How quickly?
Just 19 hours, according to the source. It ended with a wage agreement being reached.
Wow, that's fast. So a long crisis in healthcare and a very short, sharp strike in transport. What does the commentary make of these?
It kind of groups them. Suggests they both highlight rising tensions within public sector infrastructure. Essential services, healthcare, transportation, both directly impacting citizens' daily lives and their sense of security.
Makes sense. Even though the duration and outcomes were very different.
Exactly. Both point to friction points in crucial public services.
All right, let's try and end on a perhaps more positive note. The sources also touch on national achievements and maybe future plans.
They do. There's some good news from the world of sports. South Korea qualified for the 2026 World Cup.
Always a big deal. Does it say when?
Yes. The specific result mentioned is a 2-0 win against Iraq on June 5th, which secured their qualification. A moment of national excitement, you'd imagine.
Definitely. And anything else looking forward?
Well, there's mention of efforts to bid for the 2036 Summer Olympics. The source says Seoul and Jeollabuk-do are contacting the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, about it.
Okay, so a World Cup qualification and an Olympic bid. How does the commentary position these?
It kind of contrasts them with the tensions we just discussed, like the strikes and healthcare issues. It frames these sporting achievements and ambitions as, areas of significant national interest and pride, things that unite people and represent forward planning alongside all the immediate challenges.
So pulling it all together then, just from this specific batch of news and commentary for Korea around June 9th, 2025. It's a really packed picture.
It really is. You've got the president's legal situation and immunity questions side by side with urgent economic stimulus plans.
Then there's fast-paced diplomacy on trade and security, but also a need for more time in negotiations.
Add to that the ongoing healthcare crisis causing real problems, a quickly resolved bus strike pointing to labor tensions.
And then moments of national celebration like qualifying for the World Cup, and long-term dreams like bidding for the Olympics.
It's quite a snapshot. And again, we've just tried to distill what these specific sources presented, reflecting those interwoven forces, political, economic, social, diplomatic, that the commentary highlights.
So, thinking about everything we've just unpacked from this material alone, what really jumps out to you? If you had to pick one thing, or maybe the biggest question mark hanging over Korea at this specific moment.
That's tough, because as we saw, so much seems interconnected. Maybe it's that very interconnectedness, how they navigate all these things at once.
Yeah, the sheer number of high-stakes issues seemingly happening simultaneously.
Exactly. It paints a picture of a nation juggling a lot.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive pulling apart just these specific sources. Thanks for walking through it.
Glad to do it. It's always interesting to see what emerges when you focus narrowly on the provided information.
And just to leave you, the listener, with a final thought, again, drawn only from what we've discussed here. Given that the sources show this simultaneous focus on high-stakes international trade talks, major domestic economic stimulus, and the significant legal proceedings involving the president, how might the pace or outcome of any one of these potentially affect the others? Something to consider based on the dynamics presented in this material.
A good question to ponder.
Until next time.